Yeah.
Just to quickly add to that, some of the stations, Sneha, are very conscious. For example, in the station that I went to in Kerala, also in Purulia, uh, they do Bengali programming as well. And the Kerala station also does some Malayalam program as well. Not entirely in those Kuruma and Panya languages, because they think they need to also, engage with the dominant language of the region. And they also want Malayali speakers to understand about Panya culture, their customs and all of that. So they do a little bit of cross-cultural broadcasting that happens in some of these stations. And in fact, countries like Africa, there are some rules that say that every station must broadcast at least 20-25% of content in the dominant language, sometimes French and Portuguese and so on.
Yeah, one last question. I think the other panelists coming.
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes, I'm pretty new to the subject, and it was really interesting to the discussion. My doubt was that these endangered languages, which have dialects, how are these dialects being, protected? Because usually for, like Telugu, Tamil, as far as I'm concerned, you have a lot of folk songs from these dialects. That is how mainstream Telugu or Tamil speakers reach or understand that there's a certain dialect to this language. So is there something like that for endangered or indigenous languages too? And on community radios, how do you, support those languages?
No, I think, thanks. We'll take Anjali's question also, and then we'll close it, and then we'll let the panelists respond. Thanks.
Thank you for this very enlightening session. So my question is to all three panelists. Are there instances where people from indigenous communities, marginalized communities feel very protective about their culture, about their language, and would not like to sort of reveal it to outsiders coming in and suggesting? I'm sure that also is the case, that they're opening, they're letting this be revealed to others coming in, right? So is there a sense of pride? And is there a sense of being protective around the languages?
No, I mean, there is a lot of wariness about external visitors. I mean, there is a lot of that sort of tribal tourism that happens, researchers like us descending on them constantly. So there is a bit of tiredness from all this, so they are careful. I mean, one of my PhD students who needed to do research in the Nilgiris, we really had to work hard to negotiate with that organization to gain access. They asked so many questions. What will you do with this information? How will you put it, with Hasina's work and so on. I mean, so I think they are right in being a bit careful about outsiders coming in, what they do with this knowledge. I mean, the tattoo example, without any concern for their notions of sacred and profane, you render everything profane, so.
See, technically, linguistically, dialects, I'll tell you how UNESCO does it. I think both the professors would also agree that there are two ways in India how language is categorized. Endangerment categories that UNESCO follows, like critically endangered, endangered, vulnerable, potentially vulnerable, dormant languages. So critically endangered obviously would be languages less than 5,000 speakers, 2,000 speakers. Endangered would be, say, around 10,000, 12,000 speakers, and anything above that would be vulnerable. And in anything about 1 lakh or so would be potentially vulnerable. So that is how the categorization usually is done. Now, dialect is a word that is a very politically loaded one, because you can speak one variety of a language and it can possibly have different words in it, because words would have traveled over the years and is part of the lexicon. But linguistic classification will not allow it to be called as a language because it does not have a script. So unfortunately, that is how dialects, a lot of our varieties are called as dialects, and people very proudly use that word. At least in Pari, we do not use the word dialect. We use mother tongue. We use tongues as like the way if we are not using the word language. So that is the kind of change that we have done from our end. But to answer your question, this is done linguistically, where people who are in the field of language, they would categorize it in a certain way. Communities do not agree with the concept of dialect. You go to any language speaker, they will not buy an argument that their language is a dialect of another language. You go and speak to any Asur community speaker and say that it's a dialect of Sadri, they will be very offended with you saying that. Or for that matter, all the other languages, even Panya for that matter. So they will not like that. So we have to be very aware when we use certain words when it comes to language, how communities perceive them. So that was one thing. And I think your question about,
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
So yeah, just to end on a positive note. So as far as community radio is concerned, I mean, I get where you are coming from, but it is not just about preservation of language. It is for promotion of languages so that it doesn't become an endangered language. So that's also, but yes, there is resistance that we've been talking about all through, right? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Enjoyed the panel.